How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome back to ReWrite Terra. So last week we started. I've heard a lot of people who are really excited for this, and I'm really glad you are. But I'm so far just confused. A lot changed. The UI changed. It's very interesting having Kotori having a voice, but when someone mentioned how it's interesting how it's like the change of having him be voiced rather than be like unvoiced, it actually gave me a thought. I mentioned it in the comment, but I wanted to say it here. I really think it was a very clever idea to have Kotori have a voice in Terra, because remember, this is supposed to be like the canon run. This is supposed to be like not a simulation, but a real actual play out of human history. An attempt to survive, essentially. And I think it's interesting because the effect of having Kotori be voiced helps make it clear that it's not supposed to be the self-insert character anymore. This is Kotori. Like, up until now, we've been able to make choices, kind of follow our own whims, and essentially we were as much a part of Kotori as anything. But now we're seeing like the canon version, essentially. Kotori's himself a character, and we're no longer like, you know, driving him. And so I think the adding of his voice is meant to take us away from the silent MC self-insert character. Instead, we're kind of stepping back and recognizing this as a narrative of a story that's being told that we're just observing, which is really cool. I think narratively it makes a lot of sense, and I really think it shows a lot of consideration on the behalf of the creator, the writer of the story. They very clearly looked at everything that was going on and said to themselves, I want to make sure that this feels different, that this has a different atmosphere, and that the context is a lot more Kotori central. And I think that's a really clever way of bringing it about. So props to you, writers. Very cool. All right, so let's dive into it. I imagine we're still pretty far out from like super incredible stuff happening, but we've had the stage set. So now let's see what the next chapter is, because I think we're getting close to the attempted rescue and the subsequent massive injury that is a part of his life. I think we're going to see the events leading up to it and the after effects of it. So, yeah, let's see how it plays out. I watch the people on stage as they speak. Everything goes in one ear, not the other. Nothing from Martel's lectures really sticks in my memory. The 1 hour these seminars takes feels like an eternity. I've thought of them to be boring, an absolute waste of time. The speaker switches from an old professor-like person to a kid around my age. It's someone I know, though we've barely spoken with each other. He often approached me all friendly-like, but I kept ignoring him and he eventually stopped talking to me. I wonder who this person is. At the podium, he talks about how the Foundation has recognized his level of learning. He continues saying that he'll be working with the Foundation in an official capacity. Thunderous applause. So annoying. Apparently, he's now risen to being an assistant for the Foundation. A few years ago, he attempted suicide. He was brought in just as an empty shell of a human. He instantly recovered and became bright and cheerful like a completely different person. Okay, so he received healing from the Holy Woman. With his newfound positivity, he began speaking with anyone and everyone without a hint of reluctance. It should have been a change for the better. Instead, he focused all of his assertiveness for the Foundation's sake. Yeah, again, that would seem kind of creepy and cult-like. So it's interesting, because, like, the Holy Woman, I wonder if it's always, like the Holy Woman can only incarnate in females. Like, it would make sense, especially for the sake of the tradition. But it looks like she can heal anybody. And they also reflect that kind of fact that the part of their brain has been essentially turned into a familiar. So I wonder if the Holy Woman could project into a male host if necessary. That alone is enough to make me uncomfortable. I'm the only one in the audience not contributing to the applause. My mother beside me nudges me on the shoulder. She's coercing me to give my congratulations to someone I don't even like. I can't take it anymore. I get up from my seat. Ignoring my parents' warnings, I leave for the hall. There, I gazed blankly at the bulletin board. Forest Choir looking for new members. Would you like to join the Martel Choir Club? Meetings every Saturday afternoon. There isn't a single post here that interests me. Better than watching the farce, at least. I hear music being played softly. It's Bach, BWV 992. Capriccio and the departure of a beloved brother. Seminar's finally over. The door separating the hall and the auditorium flies open. My mother, with a blank expression, walks over to me. She raises her hand against me. I sigh. Dazed, I think to myself that's going to leave a mark. As expected, they continue to lecture my ear off on the way back. We argue like we'd never argued before. Though my father's quiet, his expression is seething. The two of them are fanatical members of Martel. If I showed just a hint of loyalty to the Foundation, I'd get along much better with my family. But the sort of love for Martel is a love that will accept anyone and everyone, regardless of who they are. It's not because it's me, Tennouji Kotarou. It's a sort of fraternal love that treats people as interchangeable. To me, it's insufferable. Even if I did begin to open up, there are a few secrets I would still harbor. One like hunting cryptids or having these superpowers. And while I still have these secrets, I can't open them to anyone. In tears, I told my parents I want to leave the Martel group. Ooh, I bet that didn't go over well. I begged them to let me. If I hit them with my earnest feelings, I'd be able to get through to them, or so I believed. But they offhandedly dismissed my plea. After showing my true feelings while in tears, something broke inside me. Even if I wanted to speak, my mouth just wouldn't move. I think that's a very crucial point too. Like, it's very hard to see kids as being people because they feel like children. And it's weird to say it like that, but it's just hear me out here. You don't talk to kids like you talk to an adult. You can goof around, you can have fun with them, but none of us talk to kids as if they're an adult. There's a good reason for that for a lot of things, but I feel like we can also lose sight of the fact that they're people. And so I think even if they're young, if they come to you with earnest and they're asking for help or they're asking for relief or they're confused and they're asking questions, like, I think all of us, regardless of whether like they're your children or like anything, like we should pause and really listen to that. It can be hard because it can maybe feel very similar to how they normally talk, but it's very clear that this is one of those make or break moments where he was trying to be desperately earnest, got dismissed, and then it just kind of cements this idea, oh, well, my parents will never care what I think. And that's so damaging. After I sank into silence, my parents droned on and on about their thoughts. I barely even registered what they said. It's like we're invisible to each other now.
お前と同じ道を歩みたいんだ。
To my annoyance, my father's parting words are stuck in my mind. Unable to sleep, I run to the toilet in the middle of the night, vomiting. This sort of thing rarely happens to me, so when it does, I get anxious. My emotions are an utter mess, and I can't do anything about it. I can't find it in me to go back to bed, so I leave home. I run at full speed. A salaryman heading home late stares at me, dumbfounded. Screaming, I let loose in the forest. I chop through branches with my hands and kick tree trunks. Today just has to be the day without any cryptids around.
何が環境活動だ。どうだっていい。そんなこと。なんでみんな。こんな場所で生きていられるんだよ。
Yeah, he is very upset. Like, it's so weird because he's normally so goofy and like lighthearted. He really is very angsty. Even though I have superpowers, the world doesn't even stir in the silence. Even with all these cryptids around, no one even bats an eyelash. I didn't even need any of this. I wanted something else. I slam myself against a thin young tree. A sharp pain runs through my shoulder, but that only serves to fan the flames of my rage. I shove with all my might. The entire tree is uprooted from the ground and falls over. Dang. Wow. This is nearly enough to placate me. I step thoughtlessly into the depth, far beyond the safe zone I've created. I press further in, as far as my indignation takes me. There. I discover it. Oh, is this it? Oh my gosh, there's one of those. That's bad. They're worse than the wolves. Something far removed from reality appears before me, something otherworldly. At first, it looks like to be some kind of ostrich, or perhaps some other kind of giant bird. It's hanging from the branches of a tree, after all. Giant claws. Emotionless, tiger-like eyes. Stumbling upon what could be called a dinosaur, the very possibility never even occurred to me. This isn't something you could call a cryptid anymore. This is an honest-to-goodness monster. It's a creature of the unknown, one that humans should never cross swords with. A single glance tells me I can't win. And on top of that, I can't run away. It's faster than I am. With nimble monkey-like movements, the dinosaur jumps from the top of the tree to the ground. It's tall. Maybe 3 meters tall, maybe even more. I don't even have the will to fight against it. How exactly am I going to go against it barehanded? Oh boy. One step back, but a tree behind me blocks my path. Oh, interesting. Is this how he gets injured? My legs are shaking. I try to step around the tree, but my heel catches on a root and I fall flat on my behind. That alone robs me of the last of my will to run. As I stare blankly at it, the idea of dying flashes through my mind. The dinosaur takes a step forward. My eyes can't help but be drawn to its giant claws. At least it'll be quick and painless death, I hope. Once I die, there'll be no more suffering. It'll be goodbye to all this stupid crap. What a relief. That's sad.
死ぬのなんか死ぬくらいのことは平気だ。いや、死にたくない。
I don't want to die. I do not want to die. I'm not resolving anything. I'm not fighting back. I want to fight against injustice. And to do that,
生きたいんだ。
but my body won't move. My physical state betrays my determination as my body is still frozen in fear.
動け。動いてくれ。
The last thing I want to do is die an unfair death like this. I feel an ache in my right wrist. It's a sign that I can still recover my senses. Just a few more seconds and I can get it working again. As long as my body can move, I can fight.
たとえ腕や足の一本を食いちぎられても飛びついて。
But the dinosaur's claws are moments away from thrusting straight into me. I won't make it. Just as death knocks on my door, a gust of wind blows past both my sides. Whoa, what the fetch? Look at these guys. Look at them. They must be, Guardian, but still, look at that. That's awesome. There are 3, 4 black blobs in the wind, maybe more. I realize it's actually the silhouette of a group of men only when everything's already over. They pummel it with coordinated, unceasing barrage of attacks. Swift like the wind, they go as quickly as they come. Just where are they attacking from? There's even a guy who's actually flying. He makes 3 successive strikes in the that are so fast I can't even track them with my bare eyes. The dinosaur's claws are severed by a long sword, its head is crushed by an axe covered in flames, and its legs are skewered by spears thrust from the ground. All three of those crushing blows are dealt at the same time. However, it isn't enough to kill it on the spot. The one who deals the finishing blow is the 4th shadow. He slowly crosses my field of vision. The dinosaur's head rolls off, landing right by my feet. My consciousness fades. Shock, anxiety, and relief. Because of the countless emotions hitting me at once, I'm assaulted by a sudden drowsiness. I catch sight of the men just as my consciousness is on the verge of sinking into sleep.
まったく無茶をしてくれる。こいつ一般人か。
The men surround me, gazing and talking amongst themselves. My ears are ringing. I can't hear them well.
まだ子供のようじゃの。
どうしたもんかね。俺ら狩りが専門のチームだ。
待った。こいつ変だぞ。
They're still talking. They're still talking about me. My right hand throbs with pain. I use my eyes to try and get a better look. There's something red spreading out from my wrist. Blood? No, it's not. There are a bunch of red icicles growing from my hand. They're piercing through the skin of my wrist, palm, and the back of my hand. I guess I was trying to make spears of blood or something?
無意識に武器を
A spear of blood more brittle than porcelain isn't going to be much use, though. That's as far as my consciousness can take me. My eyelids suddenly grow heavy. So he was essentially trying to make the prelude to the claws, but he was using too much blood, which is why he got so dizzy. The leader of the group, the one who cut off the head of the dinosaur, crouches down in front of me.
眠れ少年
It's Mr. Antique Store, isn't it? The man gives my head a light knock. I lose consciousness and fall into a deep sleep. Three delinquents. Two of them tumble through the air at a light shove, but the last one doubles over like a beaten down boxer. I dodge their punch with a sidestep and throw a jab from the side. It's the first time I was able to evade something with raw technical skill. I'm a little surprised. They're good, but slow. The guy who was on the floor earlier stumbles, having missed a punch that should have connected. I take the opportunity to get behind him. Having lost sight of his opponent, he looks around. That's enough for him to come to his senses. Standing still just because he lost sight of his opponent, though, he's left himself far too defenseless. A human's field of vision is no wider than 120 degrees. It's normal for you to lose sight of whomever you're fighting. The sense of tension I feel here doesn't even compare to fighting the monsters in the forest. These chumps are like trying to show off how strong they are. There's no intent to kill. There isn't going to get my blood pumping in the slightest. I don't even care anymore. I grab him by his shoulder and force him to turn my way, placing my hand against his chest. I thrust him away from me. He flies backward at explosive force. His back slams against the street light. He collapses to the ground, writhing in pain. He probably isn't going to be breathing right anytime soon. Jeez, what did you do, shatter his ribs? As I approach him, he looks up at me, eyes filled with fear. I grab the child's wallet from the pocket of his leather jacket and toss it over to the kid watching from a short distance away.
これだろお前の財布。
ありがとうございました。
さっさと逃げろ。顔を覚えられるぞ。
Some kid attending cram school got his wallet extorted by a bunch of hoodlums. I gave the guys a warning. They snapped at me in response. A fight broke out and I won. A hard shove was the finishing blow. No one was injured. Summary over.
お礼をしたいんですけど。
いいよ、行けって。
そういうわけにはいかないです。
He's a weak little kid, around grade school age.
知らない人と会話しちゃいけないってお母さんから教わらなかったのか？
教わりました。
じゃあ行けよ。礼はもう聞いたから。
聞いていいですか？
ん？
格闘技をやってるんですか？
そんなのやったこともないな。
じゃあストリートファイツで腕を磨いたんですか？
Why is this kid so excited when he just got shaken down by a bunch of delinquents moments ago on this very spot?
それも違うけど。まあ、いろいろ戦ってきたけどな。
いろいろなものと、それは世間とか抑圧と戦ってるって意味ですか？
ああ。
いや、何を言ってるのかよくわかんないけどな。
洋楽のロックでは何を聞きますか？
This kid. He's the perfect example of someone who looks up to delinquents and outlaws. I'm not an outlaw and I don't listen to Western rock. But you know what? Fine. I'll guide this kid down the right path.
いや、童謡と演歌が好みだ。
じゃあ、ドクロの服とか持ってますか？
T シャツは動物さん柄のしか着ない。森の仲間ではクマさんとリスさんが好きかな。
Alright, that's the Kotori I know.
じゃあ、次の質問は？
The boy bombards me with a ton of questions. I decide to answer them all in one go.
母親のことはママって呼んでる。喧嘩で泣かされたら速攻ママ召喚だぜ。休日は編み物をするか、家族でザスコに買い物に行く。流行り物が大好きで、人の意見にはすぐ流されるようにしてる。夜は9時に寝る。学校は皆勤賞狙い。好きな食べ物は甘口カレーとイチゴシェイク。将来は公務員になって見合い結婚するつもりだ。
He's like, what are you talking about?
そんなのアウトローじゃないです。助けてくれてありがとうございました。
He runs off in tears.
もともとアウトローじゃねえよ。
Having successfully chased off my assailant, I noticed someone staring at me. Kotori! Look at that Gao Gao Stegosaurus. Let's see that. Look at that. Gao Gao Stegosaurus. That's a great shirt. Aww. There's a group of girls at the edge of the road. Within that crowd, there's a single sharp gaze, like a laser pointed straight at me. Even from a distance, I could feel the contempt coming my way.
なんつったか、兵庫県の鳥みたいな名前。そう。神戸小鳥だ。
She's the only daughter of a family that moved into the neighborhood some time ago. I've introduced myself to her parents before, but I've never spoken with her myself. She always looks sullen and bored. A minibus drives by. It's a cram school bus service. Seems like it's driving the kids home too. I consider how I should react, but I decide to leave without even giving a customary bow. Why was she staring at me so coldly? I could only think of one reason. The fight from earlier. It's true that I jumped in to try and mediate with those punks. Of course, I also know that the moment I intervened, it would escalate into a fight. Ever since the incident happened, I haven't set foot in the forest. I found myself waking up from unconsciousness on a park bench in the middle of the night. Guess I wasn't the only one hunting down those monsters. That's really all I was able to surmise.
あの人たち、超強かったな。
Are they martial artist masters or something? I was so stuck up about being superhuman because I'm stronger than the average person, but they shattered that delusion. A greenhorn like me has no place with those guys around. It's embarrassing, like I was just some kid playing in a secret playground while all the legit adults were off doing real work. And now my stress just continues to build up, having lost a place for me to vent it all out. Hence the fight from earlier.
見透かされたかな。
I quickly dismissed the thought. Nope, I think she does. I got into a fight just to see what it's like, but it's really boring. It doesn't get me fired up, I can't get serious. If I use brute force to break someone again, that'll be the end of that. I need to find another way to vent my stress before I really blow my top. That vexation grows. I don't want to be home on weekends when my parents are around. I try to check the time, but then I remember I lost my phone. I probably dropped it in the forest.
携帯マジやばいよな。
I really need to get around to getting a new one, but I still haven't told my parents. I don't think I'll be able to stay calm if they give me a talking to. Finding it myself would be the best option, but I don't even know where I dropped it in the forest. Not to mention the chance of bumping into one of those killer monsters? No way. God, this sucks. I decide to head back home when it's dark. Still a few hours away. I come across a public payphone. I've never used one in my whole life, have I?
一応電話かけてみるかな。
I don't even care if it doesn't work. At least I can kill some time.
コインでかけられるんだっけ。
I insert a coin and call my own phone. Someone picks up. That's a surprise.
マジ。
ようやくかけてきてくれたか。
Yeah.
それ俺の携帯。
ああ、こちらで預かっている。
え、誰？
私は江坂というものだ。
Yeah, Esaka.
森であったといえば思い出せるかね。呼
Yeah.
びつけてしまってすまない。
Wait. Why does he look this young? Like, it has like it's still like, we must be like, what, 10 years out from like the main game? He goes from this to like the graying old man?
いえ。
The man at the other end of the line called me over for an office building facing the main road. Boxes and furniture are littered haphazardly around the room, making it look like some kind of storage room.
君の携帯電話を返そう。
どうも。
間違いないかね。
はい。俺の携帯です。
それは何より。
ありがとうございました。それで、
I'm not sure how to broach the question.
森でのことかな。
はい。あの時の俺、ちょっと意識飛んでて、あまり覚えてなくて。
無理もない。大変な体験をしたのだ。君を安全な場所まで運んだ後、部下が携帯電話が落ちているのを見つけたのだ。もちろん中は見ていないから安心したまえ。
それはいいんですけど。
I barely added any contacts since I got it anyway. And there's nothing compromising saved on inside. More importantly, Esaka's the one who's got me curious.
聞きたいことがあるんですけど。
あ、
恐竜いましたよね。
いや、あれはユーマだ。未確認動物。知っているかな。
一応は。でも、ユーマって 大発見じゃないですか。
それを現在調査中なのだ。
ああ、そうなんですか。にしてはなんだか
なんだね。
戦っていたような。
まさか。我々は大学からの依頼を受け、ユーマの調査をしているだけだ。
Okay, I was wondering what the cover story was going to be, but it's just that they're researchers.
ユーマ調査？
もしかすると危険な生物がいるかもしれない。だからそうしたトラブルに対処できる人材が集められたのだ。
Oh, are they going to try and recruit him here? Interesting. If they attempted to recruit him, like the Martel group's trying to recruit him essentially, because even like the lady who's running like the orphanage where Akane is, like she was trying to like, get him involved, and now Esaka might also try and get him involved, like but with Guardian.
その人材ってのは例えば剣士とかですか？
まさか。
じゃあ忍者とか。じゃあどんな？
What sort of capable individual can slice up a dinosaur like a gust of wind?
例えば動物園の職員とかだな。あとは獣医さんだ。
確かに動物にメスを入れることもあるでしょうけど。
かくいう私もバードウォッチャーでね、鳥には詳しい。こうしたスタッフが揃えばどんな動物とて意のままだよ君。
Slicing up a dinosaur into mincemeat is clearly out of the question, though. He's obviously lying. Might as well test him then.
バードウォッチャーならドードーって鳥見たことあります？
無論だ。素晴らしい鳥だ。精悍な顔立ちをしていてとても凛々しい。
Huh.
先日も野生のドードーと戯れていたよ。
Sure you have, buddy. Sure you have. The dodo's extinct, FYI. Keep that little report to myself, though.
モアって知ってます？文鳥より小さい鳥なんですけど。
ああ、もちろんだ。とても愛くるしい生き物だ。昔飼っていたこともある。小さいがな。あれでなかなか凶暴なところもあるのだよ。狩猟本能というやつだろう。
Why did he pick such a terrible backstory for himself if he has no actual credibility to back it up? He's just trying to like sound confident and like hope it gets him through. The Moa is extinct, FYI. It's bigger than a person too, if I may add.
それにしても、天王寺君と言ったか。森で何をしていたのかね。
Well, he's not telling the truth, so I doubt we will.
散歩みたいなもんです。
しかし場所が場所だ。下手をすれば遭難してしまうのではないか。
地元で慣れてるし、それに人里の方角はなんとなくわかります。
なるほど。だが今後は慎んだ方がいいな。
そうですね。そうします。
それで一つ頼みたいことがあるのだよ。
Esaka leans in toward me.
森で奇妙な生物を見つけてもあまり不意調しないでほしいのだ。
人に言うなってことですか？
あの森には未発見の種が多く生息している。貴重な新種の宝庫だ。
And talking about it might draw the wrong eyes.
だが正式な調査が終わる前にそのことが世間に公表されると大変なことになる。心ない者たちが押し寄せ新種を乱獲してしまいかねない。
ああ。
約束してもらえるだろうか。
Guess they're trying to silence me. New species or not, anything dead will turn into the same dirt as everything else. There are countless mysteries in this world. And there are people out there like Esaka who want to keep them secret. I managed to come across one of those secrets.
人には言いません。
それは助かる。
言うような友達もいないですし。
ふむ。
だから大丈夫です。
そうか。
親とも仲が良くないですし。
Wait, why am I venting, spewing out all these complaints? It's as if I'm...
この携帯だって誰の番号も登録されてないんです。鳴ったことなんてほとんどない。みんなに嫌われてるんです。
私の目には普通の若者に見えるがな。
ちょっと違うだけでももうダメなんです。群れから排除されて。
思い詰めているだけでは。
ずっと一人ぼっちで生きてきたら思い詰めないではいられないです。
Interesting. Weird. I really had a very different... Like, I've always felt like an outsider, and like, I always felt like I should be ostracized from the pack. And yet, I actually had the opposite. I never like, I never was truly alone. I might have felt alone because I felt like I struggled to relate with people. But when push comes to shove, people were around and they cared, and I cared for them. I really should be grateful for that. I need to remember. Why am I talking about this with someone I've met for the first time?
これは根が深そうだ。
だと思います。
心の雑草だな。
After that remark, the glint in Esaka's eyes grows sharper.
雑草？
根から引っこ抜かねば、いつまでも変わるまい。
Interesting. He grins.
私はもうおじさんだ。若い頃には人並みに悩んだこともあるが、あまりにも昔のことになってしまった。そんなロートルでもよければ相談に乗ろう。
え？
その携帯に私の番号を登録したまえ。
Aww.
私とメル友になろうではないか。
After making it home, I find a rather rare pair of visitors.
こんにちは。
Rikako?
お邪魔してます。
どうも。
Oh, right. Are those her parents? It's Mr. and Mrs. Kanabe. Her family just moved in recently. I do a quick about face.
どこに行くんだ？
散歩。
今戻ってきたばかりだろう。ちゃんと挨拶しろ。
本当に不愛想な息子で。
いや、男の子はそういうものですよ。
ほら、小鳥。お兄ちゃんにご挨拶なさい。
I thought there was just 4 people here, but it seems like there's another smaller one mixed in. There she is! Aww, she's adorable. Well, this is awkward. Dealing with her isn't my strong suit. Can't act like those fun guys in kids' educational shows. Am I still mentally fumbling about? She makes the first move. She bows deep and low. Her hands are neatly lined up in front of her. It's a textbook bow.
神戸小鳥です。はじめまして。
Aww. Except this isn't the first time we're meeting. We've crossed paths several times already, though we've always ignored one another. So what, we're just gonna pretend none of that ever happened and treat this like our first meeting then?
ああ。
私たち、これから出かけるところなの。小鳥ちゃんの面倒を見ておいて。
Oh my gosh.
連れて行ってやらないの？
お酒をいただく予定だから。ほら、小鳥ちゃんもお願いして。
よろしくお願いします、小太郎くん。
Aww, how can you say no? She stares straight at me in the eyes as she speaks.
ああ。なんか飲むのかな？
いいえ、お構いなく。
冷蔵庫の中身、勝手に飲んでいいから。
ありがとうございます。
Aww. Look, she's like dismissive there. Oh my gosh, my heart's gonna melt. I grab a bottle, twist the cap off, and take a gulp. Kotori sits docilely on the sofa. What do I even say to her?
話すの、初めてね。
そうですね。
小学生だよね。
はい、地元の小学校です。
Okay. Again. So they're not the same age. Because it's talking like he is older than her. Am I like missing something? Or like how maybe it's gonna explain it later, but like it feels like it's like, how is this supposed to work?
Hmm.
When I was her age, was I this well behaved? Can't remember. I think I used to be a lot wilder.
じゃあ俺、部屋にいるから、適当にしてくれていいし。
無責任なやつ。
Uh-huh. I can hear her grumbling as clear as day. I definitely heard it, but I doubt my ears.
今、なんて言った？
いいえ、何にも。耳いいんですね。
何？
Feels like she's playing me for a fool.
だから、ちゃんと聞こえたんだけど。
へえ、そうなんですか。暴力がお得意だから、感覚も鋭いんでしょうかね。
Oh, called out! Called out! She's clearly provoking me. Fine, time to flip off the shyness switch.
嫌な目してんなと思ったけど、やっぱりそんなようなこと考えてたか。
考えてますよ。暴力嫌いですから。
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Especially when you have healing punches.
最低かと。
Oh my gosh, Kotori.
お前は知らないだろうけど、絡んできたから抵抗したんだ。
違います。絡まれていたのは他の子でした。小太郎くんは自分の意思で介入したんです。 最低かと。
Oh my gosh, but he was saving that guy. My body freezes to the point where even I'm scared.
お前
I'm barely managing to hold myself back because she's just a little kid.
なんです？
そっちが本性か。
だから？
別に。やけに人を見下したような目をしてると思って。
ようなじゃなくて、ちゃんと見下してますから。
Fetch me? Holy crap. Like, it's funny because, like, this, it doesn't feel like, it feels like it's her. Like, I won't say, like, oh, she feels like a whole different person. No, she's just very upset at him. We normally don't see an upset Kotori, but I think an upset Kotori wouldn't hold back.
小太郎くんってもっと大人だと思ってました。すぐ暴力に訴えるなんて最悪。これじゃ大人を尊敬しようだなんて思えないです。
てめえ。
I ball my hand into a fist.
暴力ですか。いいですよ。どうぞどうぞ。
Oh my gosh.
そうやって力に頼って生きていけばいいです。
あのな、いい加減ほんと。
Never in my entire life have been talked down this much by a kid. It's honestly unfathomable.
そうかよ。
I'm not stupid enough that I'd actually get violent with a kid.
そっちもそうやって人を小馬鹿にしながら生きていけばいい。俺は部屋にいる。どうしても用事がある時以外は呼ぶな。
呼ばないですよ。
Yeah.
食い物とか勝手にしろ。親が預かったんだ。俺とは関係ない。
そんなこと言われなくても分かってます。
I won't go to the side here, buddy. You're being pretty, like you're being a brat too. She's smart, but she can be a real smart-a. Given how she's the polar opposite of adorable. A comeback pops into my head and I decide to give it a shot. No, she's very adorable. Kotaru.
お前、学校で友達いないだろ。
Well, you would know something about that. Aww. No. No. For once, I see Kanabe Kotori's expression freeze up. I feel grimly satisfied and wrecked by guilt. As I expected, I can't deal with kids. And Kanabe Kotori is a smart little brat. She was apparently like that since birth. They called her a gifted child. For children like her, the process of learning and understanding takes far less time than the average person. Kotori developed a tendency to look down on people in exchange for her intellect. Interesting. That also explains how she was able to keep up in school despite, like, hardly attending, because she just didn't have to try. That's the sort of person that wouldn't be welcomed anywhere. On my way home from school, I once spotted Kotori heading home, and she was walking alone. A boy around her age landed a flying kick on her from behind.
Zama!
The boy ran off back to his friends. After making a bit of a fuss, they ran away. Kotori, having been kicked to the ground, got back up without a word. She didn't even shed a tear. When she was kicked, her backpack's contents spilled all over the ground too. She picked all that up as well in total silence. The bystanders around her felt bad, but whenever they tried to help, she politely turned them all down. After she got all her belongings together, she tidied herself up and resumed walking, with her head held high. After seeing her, I felt a sense of inferiority to her. It was only a matter of time before the Kanabe family was invited to one of the group's meetings. They accepted the invitation and headed to the venue. The moment I saw her, the only thing I thought to myself was, oh crap. An hour passes. I'm in a sparsely populated lobby, soaking in the cool air as usual. The only thing I'm positive about is how negative I am. The hall bustles with activity right after the seminar. I just can't get used to the atmosphere. I only talked to a very few select people. The hall's doors open, and from it walks Kotori. Her face is a little flushed, probably because the heating is turned up too high. She throws a cold glance my way before heading toward the restroom. Kotori then comes back out, but doesn't return to the hall. Instead, she just stands there idly. She doesn't look like she wants to go back in.
Yo, Tensai-ji.
She scowls at me for a split second and stomps over.
その呼び方。
天才呼ばわりか？それとも自動扱いの方？
Okay, that's a decent comeback.
どっちも。
Oh.
お前超わがまま。で、どうよ、マーテルは。
あんなの科学じゃない。あんなの災害で文明が滅びるなら受け入れましょうって言ってるのと変わりない。
She's very sharp. Very sharp.
Hmm.
I heard that she had excellent comprehension skills, but when I was younger, I never saw through Martel's rhetoric this accurately. It's only just recently I was able to come to the same conclusion. The Martel group calls itself a scientific association. Her parents brought her here expecting something out of it, I'm sure. Except, said daughter has seen the reality of the situation in just one day.
お前も馴染めなかったか。
もう
ただな、実際に人類を滅ぼすような災害なんてないだろうし、そこに目をつぶればそこそこ科学的ではあるぞ。
隕石。
そういうのはめったに起こらないだろ。
実際に何度も起こってきたって本に書いてありました。
極論だよ。
自然の選択ってまるで世界の破滅みたいな言い方じゃないですか。不安を煽って生きることの正当性を潰してるみたいに感じました。
Ooh, dang, she's good.
ここ変です。
お前と同意見とはな。そろそろ戻れよ。ここは俺の特等席。
小太郎くんはどうしてみんなと話さないんですか？
かったるいから。
違います。逃げてるんでしょ。
Again, she's got it. Since she's smart, she's good at getting on people's nerves.
嫌ならやめればいいのに。
そうもいかねえんだよ。親との関係もあんだろ。
そういうのが逃げ。
そうかよ。どうぞ言ってろ。
I don't plan on debating with the likes of her. Kotori scoffs at my dismissive reply. Oh, wait a minute. God, why am I so dumb? The kid that he rescued from the bullying. Could that have been Yoshino? I keep hoping that they're just gonna grow up and kind of become friends again. And maybe they will, but like that would actually make sense with how the age discrepancy seems to be lining up. So maybe the kid that he rescued was Yoshino, and that's why Yoshino was so like, oh, what do you like? What do you do? Because like he was looking up to Kotaru. Oh man. Ooh. That's weird.
そうやって不完全燃焼してる間も時間はなくなっていくんですよ。逃げてる分大事な人生の時間をロスするだけです。
She's so right. It's terrifying.
私は逃げたりなんてしませんから。
The meaning of our conversation only dawns on me a few days after. Kanabe Kotori has absolutely refused to join the Martel group. How did she manage to convince her parents? Since then, the Kanabe family has stopped participating in the meetings. Swift and decisive, as they say. Kotori said she would do it, and she certainly did.
では次は駅前にできた新しい店のフルーツケーキを食しに行こう。絶品と評判なのだよ。
I like how he's like literally friends with Esaka. Like they're literally like, going out and doing things.
はい、ぜひ。
また連絡する。
Esaka and I have met several times since then. Whenever we do, he treats me to something nice. I've started asking him for advice on all sorts of things as well. Advice on school, home, stuff that's been on my mind. Anything apart from things relating to superpowers or cryptid hunting. He listens to every single one of my worries with nary a scowl. There are times when the generational gap between us shows, but it doesn't bother me at all. Asaka's contact registered on my phone has been a source of joy and something I can rely on. What happens in the forest, it still hasn't left my mind. There's definitely some kind of secret in there, a big one. It's gotten my interest, but I've decided not to touch on it. It feels like if I do, my life's balance will crumble. Apparently, confiding in someone serves as another way of releasing stress. My mental state is stabilized fairly well. Around this time, Pero came to the Kanbei family. Oh.
何？その汚ね犬。
ペロ。
Pero. She's so sad here, though. Not sad, Kotori. The dog's sitting right there in front of my house. It's positioned to block the gate. I can't get in. Just beside it stands Kotori, holding its leash. She looks troubled.
うちの前で何してんだよ。
ごめんなさい。
どかせよ。入れないだろ。
それが。
Kotori, I know, is always so headstrong. Now she's meekly casting her gaze down.
いいよ、自分でどかす。
I try to nudge this Pero thing with my foot. Suddenly, the dog starts barking in my direction. It bites down my toe through my shoe. Its fangs pierce through, even straight into my skin.
いって ざけんな。
Pulling my leg back is useless. The dog won't let go. Now it's yanking against my entire body.
離せよこいつ。
I'm seriously considering just slamming the dog against the wall. Kotori stops me. Rather than clinging onto the dog, Kotori clings onto me.
無茶しないで、殺さないで。
Interesting. So she knows he has the capability of killing him.
俺じゃなくて犬の方を剥がせよ。
Aww. The dog won't even listen to Kotori, its owner. After giving me a real good bite, the dog finally lets go. I end up having to bear with that for several minutes.
ほんと人を舐めてるよなお前。狂犬病の予防とかしてんだろうな。
してます。治療費も出しま
Aww.
す。
いらねえよ。
出します。だから保健所には通報しないで。
Interesting. Because if I remember correctly, she said that she didn't like Pero, but she was determined to help him, to make sure that he, could be happy. Yeah.
あ、何？お前その犬可愛がってるの？
ひどい目に遭ってたから。
はあ。そんな同情とかできるやつだったんだ。もっと冷たい生き物かと思ってたよ。ま、別にいいけどな。大した怪我じゃないし。ただ、人の家の前に居座らせるなよ。迷惑だ。
はい。
This is the very first memory I have of seeing Pero. Pero. The dog was abused somewhere before. I don't really know the details, but that's what I heard. The Kanbei family ended up taking him in. Honestly, he is in no way cute. His fur is all rough and spiky, his eyes are menacing, and his ears are all cut up like someone took scissors to them. The dog just looks like the embodiment of depression. Even someone as gloomy as me can derive some relief from the dog that's actually friendly. Pero, though, I wouldn't even want to pet the thing. Apparently, Kotori had to look after him now. Pero closed his heart off completely because of all the abuse he went through, and now he refuses to get close with anyone. He doesn't want to go on walks at all, he just stays cooped up in his kennel. If you try to make him come out, he'll just bite your hand. God, fetch. All you can do is put him in a long leash and hope he'll stretch his legs on his own. Feeding him is an entirely different story. He refuses to eat the usual sort of dog food. Mr. Kanbei thought it was strange, so he looked into it. There, he found out the previous owner mixed onions into Pero's food. Onions are poisonous to dogs. Fetch me! They probably mixed onions into its favorite foods as another kind of mistreatment. That's despicable. That goes beyond animal cruelty. That's just torture. That way, Pero couldn't even find joy in eating. Because of that, he started favoring dry food. It's difficult to mix anything weird into dry food. Even then, he still only eats in tiny bites, like he's testing the food. He'll take a sniff of every bite he takes, making sure it's safe before he eats. Pero often barks late at night. The duty of getting him to stop fell on Kotori. No matter how much she tries to talk to him, Pero continues to make noise until he gets tired. The neighbors have already yelled at them, telling them to put him under the knife so he'll stop barking. After the surgery, Pero became terribly frightened for a while, even of Kotori. Just approaching him caused him to make a hissing squeal. Kotori was exhausted. Despite that, she tried her darndest to put it simply. She was so devoted to taking care of him, little by little she was able to take him out for walks. Gradually, his expression slackened. Once in a while, I'd see him even manage to say hi. The scarred pup never regained its natural innocence, but he should have been freed from his days of quaking in fear and suffering. Still, wounds of the heart run deep. One day, Pero ran away. Lost dog. I talked to Kotori, something I hadn't done in ages, and she's putting up missing dog posters on the walls of her house.
あの犬、いなくなったんだな。脱走か？
She cast me a grim stare before handing me one of the flyers.
もし見かけたら、どうか。
The gravity of her expression bores down on me. Someone I don't like is asking me for help. It's something I can't do.
いいけど。いなくなったのは、ゆうべか。
はい。どこかで見ませんでしたか？
いや、見てないな。
首輪を外してしまったみたいです。かなり無茶に暴れたらしくて、
Oh gosh.
血と毛がついてました。
壮絶な脱走だな。
You probably didn't like it at first, but Pero should have gotten used to living at the Kanba household. There shouldn't have been any reason that would drive him to escape. Despite that, he still ran away. An animal's heart is an enigma.
ついでで結構ですから。お願いします。
いいけど、お前、あの犬のことどう思ってた？全然懐かなかったじゃん。
そうですね。
脱走したってことは、世話してくれなくてもいいって一生児だろ？探す必要はないんじゃないか？
でもペロは餌を自分で取れないです。ずっと人に飼われてきた犬だから。
野生に戻る犬だっているだろ。すぐそこは森だし。
ペロは足もちょっと不自由だし、野生に戻ることはできないと思います。
にしてもだよ。本人はお前の世話なんていらないって思ったから逃げたんだろ。
Kotori stares back blankly, her mouth agape. I guess the idea didn't even occur to her. She starts tearing up.
いや、悪い。
Yeah, you suck. Didn't think she'd actually cry. Even I would feel bad about that.
あの子が私のこと好きじゃないのなんて知ってた。ペロは人間が怖かったから、怖くてたまらなかったから。
Oh no.
私はあなたと一緒ですね。
Oh.
マーテルを拒んだから義務なんです。ペロの世話。親との約束で。
Her head cast down and flyer still in hand, Kotori and I walk down the street. She's probably going to hand them out all over the place. As I watch her in silence, I fight against the pain that runs through my heart. Don't fight it! I head to the Kanba's yard and examine the collar. Seems like he forcefully pulled his head out of the collar. That's an unusual amount of hair stuck to it, along with blood. Take a good long whiff of the blood. The next day.
Kotarou.
What? Not even a greeting?
回収してきた。
I mean, I did retrieve him, but he kept struggling, so I stuffed him into a laundry bag. The slick white bag wriggles and thrashes about. I hand it over to her.
ひえーはねえだろ。
Yep, this is Kotori. If you ever had doubt, there it is.
いや、地球さん。
The mesh net is so fine it's hard to see what's inside. Now that I look at it, its slick white bag squirming about does look kind of grotesque.
洗濯袋。わかった。中身はカブトムシの幼虫と子守でしょ。いけず。
Aww. She tries to pick up and throw it away.
やめろ、投げるな。嫌がらせてそこまでしねえよ。
どうせあんたみたいな人はカブトの幼虫とエビチリって似てるよねとか言ってエビチリ食べられなくする気なんでしょ。
落ち着け。俺がエビチリ食えなくなりそうだ。お前の探し物だよ。
I yank the zipper down and Pero jumps right out.
おっと。
It'll be a pain if he runs off again. I quickly catch him before and keep him from running off. He's hurt though, so I'm gentle with him.
ペロ。
早くロープ持ってこい。こいつむちゃくちゃ暴れる。
She's not moving. She's just standing there looking down at the dog.
どうした？火も持ってこいって。
どこで見つけたの？
たまたま森林浴に行ったら、こいつが俺の特等席を占拠してやがったんだよ。蹴飛ばしてやろうかとも思ったが、飼い主にクレームつける方が気分いいからな。とっととロープ。
なんだ、生きてたんだ。
残念だったな。
死んでるだろうなって。
残念だったな。
楽になるかなって思ったのに。
Oh man. Oof.
そうかよ。けどこいつはお前が探してくれって言った。
Kotori's expression is the complete opposite of what she says.
よかった。
Her voice is hoarse and tearful. Without thinking, I avert my gaze. I've seen a clear glimpse of her emotions overflowing. What an absolute pain.
いい加減ロープいいか。
Sniffling, Kotori dashes into the shed. After putting a new collar on him, Pero immediately becomes docile. He partakes of what's probably his first meal in days. Pero chows down the dog food moistened with some warm water with surprisingly no reservations. Interesting.
こいつ少し湿った餌の方が好きなのかもな。
試したことなかった。
医者には？
明日連れて行く。
そうかい。
In any case, my job here is done.
待って。
なんだよ。金一封でもくれるのか。 冗談だよ、怒んなよ。
ありがとう。
Aww. She remarks curtly without looking at me. I say that again.
ありがとう。
Aww.
は？
ありがとうって言ったの。
ああ、いいけど。
Putting aside how much she isn't even trying to face me, that was actually pretty genuine of her. I'm not so easygoing a person that this will be enough to make the two of us get along, but it doesn't feel all that bad. Pedro lived for just a short while after that. It wasn't an accident or sickness or even old age. He simply used up every bit of his life he had left and then died. At least that's how I see it. Up through the end, he never really warmed up to anyone. Even after all that happened, the relationship between Kotori and I didn't change much. The two of us stopped with the pointless squabbles, but that was it. There's just one thing that was gained from this incident. After seeing her get so attached to the dog whose care she was merely obligated to provide, I suddenly began to feel anxious. Anxious that I'd been aimlessly standing in the same place all the time.
待ってる。抜けよ。
My gut is screaming at me to move on already. Interesting. Oh. So that was a decision point that he made. Getting out of the Martel group. Okay. Alright, we're gonna end here. Because that's a good place to end. Interesting. Like, there's no choices there, but, like, it's clear his choices are depicting a path that he could take. Interesting. Oh, I love this. This is really cool. It's getting to see this, like, glimpse into the past and seeing all these lines intersect. Again, the age difference is seemingly very strange to me. It's making me concerned that what's really going to happen is that he gets injured and he's in a coma for a while, and when he wakes up, he kind of reverts back to where he was in life. But he's technically older, so that would mean he's in high school, but he's like, what, a few years older? And so, like, he's in the high school, but he's, like, technically in his 20s? That'd be really weird. I don't know if it's that dramatic, but it's kind of like, it's either that or something else is going on that I just haven't seen line up quite yet. Because there's very clearly an age difference between him and Kotori when they're in the same grade. So, you know, like, there's stuff that's not adding up. We'll just have to see. Huh. Or he stopped aging when he gets repaired. Or at least his aging slowed down so much, he still looked like a high school student, even though he was older. And maybe that explains why in the moon, he said he was older than the others, and he was confused by that. But maybe that's because that's actually his real age being reflected when he wasn't, like, modified. That would explain it. That could make sense. Still weird, though. Still weird. Anyway, I don't know. That's just a theory I'm gonna think about. But regardless of that, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being a part of the channel, especially the patrons and members. You're all wonderful. I don't deserve you. I'm gonna try and deserve you and be worthy of you, but I appreciate you all the same. Hopefully, you'll have fun choosing some of the next content that's coming up. I got some interesting and spicy choices for us to consider for Tuesday, because Baldur's Gate 3 shouldn't take too much longer. It's definitely taking longer than I expected because, like, the recording sessions are harder to cram in now that I've gotten a lot busier. But it's still coming along. And then we also have the Fruit of Grisaya, which isn't quite done, but we're getting close to it being done. As it's thematically, because it's only we're doing the Sachi route, and then I'm going to be wrapping it up. So yeah, got some good choices on the horizon. So if you're a patron or a member, make sure you're keeping up to date and, like, keeping an eye out when we get to the end of those two series, because once we do, polls are going to go up and you're going to choose what we cover next. So yeah, if you have some suggestions, I'd love to hear them. Visual novels are obviously easy. I've got a page for them on the Discord for anyone who can post them, and there's also a private one for the members and patrons if you want to shout out something specifically. But also, if you want to see, like, some kind of JRPG or something that you really want me to cover, just keep in mind, if it comes to stories like kind of like Trails in the Sky, I haven't played, like, any JRPGs, so there's a lot out there I could play. If you think there's one I'd really enjoy and you want to see it covered on the channel, there's also a few ones that we could do. Like we could try doing challenge runs in the game I have played, like Dragon Age, as we're getting ready for the next Dragon Age game that's going to be released. There's a lot of good options, and I'm going to try and cultivate an interesting list for everybody, but if you have suggestions, I'd love to hear them. Anyway, enough about that. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for your time, your comments, all of it. And I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you're ready for next week's episode. But until next video, watch with me, or happen to see me in next. I'll see you there.